Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience, a motivational podcast relating to the insurance brokerage industry and business in general. And now, here's Bill Levinson.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We have a very exciting episode we are going to launch this afternoon. We're a week past our expo, which was amazing. Last Friday, record turnout, record number of agents, fantastic presentations, and great feedback. So I mentioned this amazing new lead program at the expo literally a week ago. So I promised you all we're going to do this podcast a week later. So here we are, April 24th. I'm with Arnold Tarpley from Lead Lab and super excited to get this out there to you all. So number one, I want to thank you for joining us. I know you traveled a pretty long distance to be here. So if you want to say hello to the audience.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Arnold Tarpley. Bill, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and to kind of share what we're going to be delivering for you all.
Yes. No, we appreciate you for taking the time. So let me just, I'll back up for a minute and share how this whole thing started. It's a very interesting story. So you all know we've been doing this since 1972 and lead platforms come and go, right? Some are hot, some are not so hot, some are great in the beginning, some kind of fade away 6 months later. And, you know, I have two agents of mine that have been with us a long time. They write great business. And they said to me, Bill, you know, we've been using this platform for a couple of years now, and it's working great for us. And I think you should take a look. It's worth mentioning. And I trust these guys with my heart. I know their business and I know their intentions. And I said, you know what? Share the details with me. Let me look into it first. And I did. So I did my due diligence, right? And I did my research. And it was a very interesting platform, interesting guy behind the platform. And I was like, let's set up a call. So that's when this whole thing started. And I was so impressed. And I know we're jumping ahead here, but we have just such great nuggets to share. I was so impressed that I was like, you know what? If we can work something out for our agents, right? I don't want a penny from this. If we can share a discounted price where you all agents can ride the coattails of 25,000 Levinson agents and get about a 7% discount, this could be a win-win for everyone, including you guys. So Arnold agreed to this. In fact, he offered this to us and our agents, which was awesome. And I wanted to get this out there. We finally got the programming done, thanks to his team. And then we launched the one pager at the expo, and here we are today. So it's a great story. Thanks to the two agents too that introduced the program to us, but that's how we came across your company. So it's a good story, and Arnold is now here live on Friday, April 24th, like I said, episode 66. So let's start off with this because he's got a really neat story behind all of this. So growing up for you, and then I don't know, moving into your college life, and then the pro life. Just share a little bit of that if you don't mind.
Yeah, 100%. So kind of something I always like to share with people before we hop in is I really think that one of the most important things that's helped when we get into the leads has been the journey to actually being a life insurance agent as well as doing the marketing. So I'll start all the way from the beginning, and I think all the steps I'm about to outline are very important. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, played football since I was 6 years old. And like many people, you know, I consistently was, you know, considering, hey, you know, how can I get to the NFL? It was my dream of mine. I saw, you know, all the players growing up. And being in Pittsburgh is a very like prominent city for sports as well. You know, we had the Steelers. And I was like, hey, you know, I want to become a Division I athlete. I want to, you know, go play in the NFL. So since I was a little kid, I knew that was going to require a lot of hard work and a lot of belief. Yeah. Right. And initially what happened was I went to high school. I was not like a superstar. So, you know, for anybody out there that is a former athlete or athlete themselves and, you know, inspiring to continue to go, that was like my first taste of, you know, real adversity. I came into high school. I wanted to be this really, you know, big time guy, but I wasn't. You know, my junior year in high school, I didn't even start until like the second game. right? And most of the times when they say you're going to be Division I athlete, right, you're kind of the superstar from when you were in Little League. I wasn't that guy. But I had my first glimpse of understanding the fact that hard work can bear fruit, but intentional hard work bears fruit as well.
Right.
So I just had made a commitment to myself from my junior to senior year. Like, hey, I remember I told my dad, and he kind of gave me this look. I was like, I'm going to become a Division I athlete. And he was kind of like, okay, but I wasn't, a super short kid. Yeah, he was your children, you don't want to shoot their dreams down. I ended up, I watched the Eric Thomas video, kind of got motivated, and I just started waking up every day before school, working out, and then deciding to really put myself in the best position possible to start succeeding. And then a few months later, I started getting faster, I started getting stronger, and I came into my senior year, and then eventually got some offers, and then went to Vanderbilt University.
Yep, I saw that.
So I played at Vanderbilt. Let me take a step back.
Yeah.
How I got the offer was actually very interesting, because essentially what happened was when I was going into my senior year, I wasn't a big time name, but I was making a lot of plays. Our team was doing really well, and teams were coming to recruit in our area, and we'd play against other players that had offers and things like that. And they were like, yo, this guy's actually really good, to the point where by the end of my senior year, I had a few offers, but I didn't have any what we call Power 5, so big D1 offers. I had Villanova, I had Yale, kind of that Northeast region, of nicer schools. And I went to a private school, so kind of I wouldn't say I was a nerd or anything like that, but I was kind of a smart kid, relatively speaking. And then, so I had some nice, decent sized offers, but then eventually, I got an offer from Temple, then Boston College, and then I ended up getting an offer from Vanderbilt University. So I go down to Vanderbilt. Once again, I'm not a superstar. So there's 5 stars in there, guys that were toted. I was barely a 2-star. I think they just gave it to me to say I had something.
Right.
And it's still playing on, once again, when we get into the leads, the whole idea of working hard and kind of reaping what you sow. I get to Vanderbilt, my first year, put in the same amount of effort, come out, end up playing for 4 years at college. And then when I get to my senior year, I was not projected once again to be drafted. The draft was yesterday. Grew up wanting to get drafted, was not projected to get drafted, but my last practice ever, I tore my ACL. Literally last practice, one more practice. We had some teams come out to see me, my best friend, or 2 of my best friends, and a few other guys. I just happened to be one of the guys. Tear my ACL, and it was one of those moments where you really got to figure out who you are. Because since I was 6 years old, I just wanted one opportunity. Can I get a tryout, whatever? And 15 months goes by. I'm in recovery. I had to go work valet at a bunch of different places at a veteran. It was a veteran hospital. I had to work valet back in Nashville. Moved in with my uncle to live with him for a little bit of time, and then started playing in every league possible to try to get to the NFL. A league called the AAF, the XFL. And the reason I'm bringing this up, you all, is I'm going to get to a point here.
Oh, it's great. We love this.
But essentially what happened was, during all those years, this is where the turning point happens, I picked up some sales roles, because I realized when I was working valet, I really wasn't making a lot of money. But I would see people show up in different cars, and obviously some of them were athletes, but then I would see other people, and I'd ask them, hey, what do you do? And most of the people said they were in some form of business or sales. And I was like, okay. And I started noticing that no matter how hard I was going at this job, even though it was valet, I'd run faster to the cars, I'd do all these things, I was still getting paid relatively the same tip amounts. And one of the league off seasons happened, and I actually ended up coming back to potentially stay with my uncle. And he was like, what are you going to do for work or whatever? And I was like, I don't know. And eventually I stumbled across the sales opportunity, selling Cutco knives.
Okay.
But I'm 3 years removed from, college, so I'm working with college kids. It's kind of like an ego jab. I'm like, okay, very humbling, very humbling. And I'm staying with a mentor at the time. I'm staying on the couch.
Your uncle was your mentor, or some?
No, this is somebody else. So I had a spiritual mentor I was staying with at the time. This is right when COVID happened. And that was my first experience sales, and I was like, okay, well, there's still college kids in here doing way better than me. They're selling more, but they're also working way harder. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just not working hard. And it was that first jab at oh, you were the guy as an athlete but you're not the guy anymore. These people, they're the guys and the girls. So this is what they do. You're in their territory. So you now are the, you're the freshman, you're the rookie, you're the new person on the block. Yeah. They're the kind of like, you need to do what they do. You just can't just come in and be like, oh, I was good in one field. Doesn't mean you're going to translate.
Right.
So it was my first experience at sales. We then go from sales, selling Cutco knives to what I told you beforehand. I was like, I saw an opportunity for life insurance. Yeah. And I was like, I started reading. I looked it up, all the financial millionaires that have been made from the industry.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to take my test. And like I said, I'm thinking I'm big macho man. Hey, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to kill the test. I'll be all right. Just study a little bit. First test, failed it.
Yep.
Come back, took it again, failed it. Came back, took it again, failed it.
It's the insurance test.
Insurance test.
Yeah.
So you think, I think it's 2 or 3 times, whatever it is. After you fail it, they have you a probationary period.
Yeah.
Where you can't take it again.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh man, all right. So I swallowed my pride and I had to go back to selling. So I went back and sold door to door, which in my opinion was probably the greatest thing to ever happen to me.
Yeah.
Outside of me getting hurt and this sending me on the path, during that path, me selling door to door changed everything, because selling Cutco knives is okay, right? I had a little bit of money saved up from when I was playing football, not in the NFL at the time, but in I think it was the USFL that I had played inside. A little bit of money saved up, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just I can sell some knives. I don't have to go hard, but I ran out of all my funds, so I was planning on using the life insurance money to front my life, essentially. Yeah. And the goal was still to get to the NFL. So this was always like, I just need to do a little bit enough to get by and I can still train. Because my day consists of wake up, work out, work a little bit at the job, come home, maybe work out again, and do that over until I can get to the NFL. Because that's still my number one thing on my mind. And I was like, well, I need to make more money. So at the time, I'm like, let's go do life insurance. Failed it. So I was like, I have to go do door to door. So I'm doing door to door. And it hit me. I was like, I am going to stay in this cycle until something changes.
Yeah.
So I was like, all that ego and all this other stuff with football, I think I should be in the league. I should be the guy. You're not the guy, man. Mm-hmm. Like, reality is you're not the guy. You have to be okay with that. And you were the guy in this, and you may never get to the NFL. I had to grip with, I may never actually get that shot that I wanted so badly. And I felt like it was taken away from me as a kid. Or not as a kid, but as a college student.
Absolutely.
Going into my senior year. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to treat this the right way. So I said, let's go take the test again. 90 days came up. I go to take the test. I treated it like it was school. I flashcards. I studied for hours, right?
Because you knew this was it.
I knew this was it. It was like, this has to be it. So at the time, when I go in to take the test, by the way, I passed it by 1 point. I'm not the greatest test taker at all.
Same here.
I did well in school because I'm really good at writing.
Yeah.
So I write really good paper. So even out, if I got like a C on the test, I honestly get like A's or like typically A's or A- was like the lowest I get on every paper in every subject. So it made up, to give me like a B average most of the times. But I was not a great test taker at all. And I passed it, and I'm like, okay, now what do we do? Right, and then I get to my next obstacle. And if I need to stop at any point,
this is great. Yeah.
And this is, once again, it's all going to tie back to how the marketing plays in when we talk about you all as agents having success. Ties in with my story, and I'll explain how. But essentially, I have this life insurance license now, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? So first day, I get on a call. They're like, buy some leads, right? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, how much is it? And they were like, it's $800. I was like, what? And I only had $1,000 to my name at the time. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Like, this is my last $1,000 I had saved up. Right, exactly. Back to the nines. So I'm thinking, I'm like, man. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to follow what's being, like, I'm seeing other people make money. Yeah. So I'm the type of person, once again, I put my ego down. Because like I told you, I was like, I'm going to change my life. I may never get to the league. Yeah. But if that happens, I have to be okay with it. So I accepted that, even though I was still pursuing it. And I was like, well, if everybody who's successful is spending $800, I guess I just got to do it. I spend my money. I end up dialing the first day from my Pittsburgh number, but I'm calling Nashville leads, so I have no local presence, and they're old leads. Nobody's picking up. Oh my God. But what I didn't realize is I didn't buy a local ID number to call from. Yeah. So I'm watching other agents starting the same day as me on Zoom, getting pickup after pickup after pickup. I'm over here just do. People hanging up in my face. I'm just walking $800 gone. God. So I literally go to my now wife.
And look how one little thing could change the outcome like that.
Exactly. Which is, like I said, we'll get into the success principles. But so I then at that point, I had another moment where I was like, I just spent $800. My wife's going into medical school. She's not about to be working. I don't really have any money. I broke down, like I cried, and I was like, called my mom. I was like, and I'm not really like the biggest, I'm really a daddy's guy or whatever, or son or whatever. So I called my mom. I was like, I just need to talk to somebody. And she's sitting there and she's like, well, what's one thing you got good at? She was like, door to door. She's like, well, you got addresses? I said, yeah. She said, all right, well, you just got to do what you got to do. So I get off the Zoom call with all the agents. They're like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to door knock. They're like, don't do that. I was like, dude, I was like, I don't have the local number. I was like, I can buy it now, but I've already rinsed through all these leads because they're like, they've been called today. And I'm like, I need to make this money like now. Like, I can't wait. Oh yeah, let your phone sit there for 2 or 3 days, let it warm up. I was supposed to do that ahead of time. I go to my first house, which I told you about the lady. Yeah. First lady I go to, door knock. She opens up, I close her.
Wow, so that was it.
First person I talked to, I close her, and
what were you selling? Like final
expense. Final expense. I pulled up to the door. I had a little, makeshift script I found off YouTube.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, my name's Trey. I'm here. You filled out a life insurance request a few months ago? She's like, yeah, nobody ever came to my house. Go in, and I had no idea what I was doing. Called my upline. He walked me through the whole e-app, closed her, walked out the house. He's like, do you know how much money you made? I was like, no. He's like, well, it was enough to pay back your lead costs. I was like, okay. And I was like, well, at least I get another shot. Yeah. So I said, all right, well, if it worked one time, why don't I keep trying it? So I literally went through that whole lead list. And that first month, I think I invested maybe $800 a week. So it was 800 times 4. It was like $3,200. And I deposited maybe $10,000 to $12,000. And it opened my eyes to like, this is really possible.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, and I'll fast forward, and I'm sure you have questions to ask.
It's okay.
I can bridge the gap when we get into like how I transitioned. But essentially, from that point forward, I fell in love with it. And I knew that even with me getting to the NFL, I said, this is something that I could do forever in some way, shape, or form because this is fun.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is a challenge.
And then you had the confidence, too, after that first single. Yeah.
And I said,
which is what you needed.
Yeah. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, and I started getting on Zooms and hearing about all these different type of life insurance and what is an IUL. I just started educating myself, and I was like, this is something I could do. And from there, I ended up selling life insurance for a little bit. I was still trying to get to the NFL. I did, I was like a 20 to 40K-ish producer every month.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting an opportunity to, like the next offseason came, so I went and played in the USFL again, trying to get to the NFL. And when the offseason came, I was like, man.
And you had this going in the background.
Yes.
As you were still trying to.
Yep, still trying to get to NFL. And I was like, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start generating leads. Originally, though, I don't even think I told you this. Originally, though, it started out, I was going to take my money, the extra money I had, and do Airbnb and Turo.
Oh, no, you didn't tell me that.
I did, yeah. So look, that's actually how I got into learning how to generate the leads. I was going to take the money I had from that to do Airbnb and Turo. So the course was on how to do private rentals.
Got it.
Because my mentor was like, there's, Turo, they take fees, Airbnb, they take fees. Why don't you do private? I was like, well, how am I going to get clients? He's like, run ads. I was like, oh. So I get on the very first call. It's like 300 people on this. It was like a, what do they call those? Challenges, like a 3-day challenge where you can sign up for. It was like $90 or something. I get on there. First thing he says, he's like, yeah, so we use Facebook ads. And in my mind, it was like the Holy Spirit hit me. I was like, Facebook ads? I used to buy Facebook leads. I'm like, hold up. And he's like, yeah, if you pay for this mentorship, I'll show you how to do it. So once it happened, I was like, I just want to learn how to do this because I think I might be onto something. First day on the call, he's like, does anybody have any questions? I hopped, unmuted. I was like, hey, I know we're here for cars and rentals, but like, could you show me how to do this for life insurance? And he was like, message me after. So we got on a call. He introduced me to a gentleman. The guy was like, hey man, I'll show you how to run ads. We ended up learning how to run ads. And that was like, and I'll stop there before we get to the next part, but that was like the beginning of me learning how to run ads to generate leads.
Wow, that's great.
And I was long-winded.
So when was the NFL, when did that happen?
So essentially what happened is I started running the ads. I started calling the leads myself. I wanted personal proof of concept. And then I go to one of my good friends who was also selling with me. And I was like, man, I know I can do it, but it's my product. I said, I can't sell this or even do anything with it. It's really not of value. So I can get a stranger to do something with it. Yeah. So I go to him. I'm like, try this out. He's like, all right. I'm like, I'll just give it to you for free. I just need you to try it because if you can sell.
Then proof of concept.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, he tries them out. He was like, these are washed. I'm like, oh, man. So I'm like, let me go back to the drawing board. I'll hit you up in 2 weeks. So I go back to the drawing board, make some adjustments, kind of, did just personal. And the theme of why I'm telling you all this and why I think this is important for just people to know, if them signing up, is like, I am an agent. I think that's the thing that you and I have related.
Absolutely.
Like, yes, I run a marketing company. Yes, we sell leads. Okay, fine. But at the root of this, at least if you've heard from this story, I did not go to school for this. I did not seek out, I don't want to sell life insurance. I want to sell leads. Like, and you'll see how it kind of starts transitioning. I really built this off of like, okay, cool. It'd be cool to have like something on the side, but I'm just an agent trying to figure it out. Right. The guy who showed me, he didn't show me how to run life insurance ads. He just showed me how to run ads
in general. Yeah.
I just was like, let me apply life insurance psychology to advertising. Because I used to be like, well, why when I buy from lead companies, do they never show me the ads? Like, well, I call people and they say they thought it was free. Like, well, probably because it said something on the ad that was probably misleading. So I was like, well, if I made something and I'm still selling, I'd rather sell my own stuff that I make.
Absolutely.
But then I was like, well, I could probably help more people. So I gave it to him. He comes back. He ends up writing $15,000 in 1 week off of the leads.
That was it.
And it was final expense.
Wow.
So it boosted my confidence. Yeah. And then literally he was like, hey, I'm paying this guy $1,000 a month. He's like, can you just do what you just did for me again?
Yeah.
Like, I know I didn't pay, but can you do it again? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, how much will you charge me? And I didn't even have like a payment processor set up, no logo, anything. And this is my friend. So I'm like, dude, I don't know. He's like, no. I want, like, you deserve money for this. Like, how much do you want? I was like, I don't know. I was like, $500. He's like, all right, send me your Venmo.
Wow. That was
Venmo me $500. I was like, okay. 2 days later, he puts me in a group message with 3 of his other agents. He's like, hey, they want the same thing.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, I don't really know how to do this stuff, but I, of course, said yes.
This will work.
So, I was like, so $2,000 made in basically 48 hours. I'm like, okay. And the only thing that clicked in my head was, all right, I might be able to do something with this, but football's still my main goal because I'm not in the NFL right now when I'm telling you this. So then what happens is that was kind of like the baby part of it. And that was like the off season when I was doing this. And eventually we just started grabbing agents. And then I get to the NFL and then I kept the business. But now I had to actually start building out a team, building out infrastructure.
You had to focus on football.
Exactly. So literally from that point forward, that was like year one. For the first probably 3 of coming up on 4 years we've been in business, I've been 100% focused, but not like how I am now because I'm not playing anymore. Right. So I played for a year in the NFL. I was on the Atlanta Falcons. I was on the practice squad. Ended up getting released. Tried to get back in last year. Had a few conversations with some teams. Nothing came through. And I'm a firm believer in God. So I felt like he told me it's time to go on this.
100%.
And I know that was a long story, but
it's a great story.
Like, that's how we're here now.
And I think most important, it shows too, like how consistency and being so persistent with anything, the football, with leads, door knocking, anything, you'll figure it out. Right. If you don't let off the gas, and you just prove that concept. You did it. And what an experience, though, with the NFL and what Vanderbilt you played for. University. Yeah, I mean that's just to be able to experience that as a young man in your 20s at the time, right?
Yep.
That's like a lottery ticket. So it's amazing, and then to have this experience too under your belt, you were smart to juggle both at the same time because now you're still a young guy and you got this business that's working out great. It's already been like 2 or 3 years?
It'll be 4 in
4 years. Yeah. So it's a great story. It really is on so many levels for so many people. And I love that you're an agent at heart, and you know what it's like, for Billy Smith in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, that's trying to make their rent payment every week and car payment. And they're trying to buy leads,
and they're getting teeth kicked in, and they're working leads. And like I've been there, I've done that. I've had days where I've dialed for 14 hours, made no sales. And I've had days where I've dialed, and the first 3 people that picked up were presentations, and I had to close, and I was finish by 2:00. So
exactly.
I resonate with every single client we have because I've been there.
Yeah, and that's so important. And same here. That's why you can get along with agents. They get you, you get them, and that's why the whole thing works at the end of the day. So let's fast forward to now. Here we are, right? 2026, going into the summer. You have this great lead company. Tell the audience just a little bit about the leads themselves and the company and how you guys operate. What I love so much is how you build like this community, and you have someone to get involved with training to help them be successful. That's so different. I've never seen that in 24 years.
Yeah.
So just explain that a little
bit. Yeah. And do you want me to talk here or talk here when I go?
Either way. Okay. I think both. That doesn't really matter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll continue to talk to you.
Yeah.
So, Agent Lead Lab, first of all, let's start with the name, right? So why it's important for where we're at and like you all as agents and kind of what you can expect, right? So I thought about everything that I would want as an agent. If I had to bundle it up and put it together, what would it be? I said, okay, I'd take a little bit of customer service. Imagine this is a vial, right? Let's use whatever. This is a vial, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of like, I hated the fact that when I bought leads from companies, I never spoke to anybody. It was always email support, some little knockoff chat bot. I was like, I don't want that. I was like, okay, customer service, pour it into the cup. I'm like, all right, when I buy these leads from companies, they never show me the ads. They don't tell me what's going on. It doesn't feel like there's any transparency. It's like, okay, ads, copy, creative, what the client expectation is, meaning not agent client, meaning client, person that's filling out the form, right? Pour that in. Caveat on that, how I came up with that, which is important, is anybody that's ran mortgage protection, final expense mailers, I ran those. One of the things I noticed is that agents would say, man, these leads are just so much better. And I found that so hard in my mind to believe that just because somebody wrote something down and walked out to their mailbox, it just made the lead 10 times better. And then when I thought about it, I said, no, you know the difference? When I buy an internet lead or a Facebook lead or whatever from whatever company, I don't know where that comes from.
Right.
So with us, when you guys are working with us, we're very transparent. Like you can ask anybody on my staff, my team, myself, like, hey, what's on the advertising? We're going to show you, or we have an entire blueprint built where we show you our ads, what you're going to see, what you can expect, what to say, right? So I took that aspect of realizing that there's no transparency with the lead game, right? So I said, okay, pour that into a cup. And I said, all right, and then what's going to be the last thing? I said, most of the times when I buy leads from companies, and I'm like, well, you're telling me, right? I'll see an ad or whatever. It's like, oh, I have all these top agents. What do they do? Like I said, I learned, I'm a blueprint person. When I saw a top football player doing something, I'm just going to do the same thing, right? You want to be like Mike, you got to go do what Mike does. You want to be like Kobe, you want to do it, like insert your favorite athlete, business owner, whatever. That's mentorship in my eyes. So I'm like, okay, I'm buying leads from this company, and you're telling me that Bill is writing $50K a month. What is Bill doing?
That's right.
Oh, well, we don't have a script. You don't have a script? What do you mean? These are your leads. Don't people have success? Do you not ask them? Yeah, we do. Well, we just kind of, okay, that's a little sketchy to me, right? So in my mind, I'm like, all right, let's take the last part, which is the sales aspect of what are these people doing that they're successful, and let's pour that in. And that's how I came up with the concept of a lab. Right, so that's the laboratory feel of the agent lead lab. The agent part obviously being the agent and the leads and the lead. So that's how the name came up. And that's important for you all to know when you work with us, we're going to give you those three things. That's what comes with it, right? You're going to have the ability to know what your client is seeing so you can have confidence and create tonality. Because if I can show you the ad, if the person says, well, I thought it was this, you're able to look at it and say, you know what, Sadie, and they can hear it in your voice. You know what, Sadie? I totally understand. It sounds like you might have just been a little misled on what was said, but that's no worries. My name is John. I'm your licensed advisor. On this sheet, it listed this is going to be a final expense life insurance program, and you listed Jane Doe's your beneficiary. Is that correct? And then they just let their guard down because most agents, when they call these leads, they feel a type of way when somebody gives an objection because they don't know.
Right.
They don't know what's on the ad. So if it's like, I thought it was free or it was a Walmart gift card, like they're just using a script with no real tonality and just trying to regurgitate what's being said rather than being able to actually handle it properly because you understand their misinterpretations. So
the transparency is key.
Exactly.
Because they know both sides, how it was generated, they know what to say on this side. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Exactly.
I never even thought about that.
Exactly. So we give you access and resources to that. Right?
Yeah.
So that's like our overarching theme. Now as far as like what you can expect, we're very, very, very personalized. Like when I say that, like we communicate with everybody, like we are not a huge, I'm gonna talk to somebody. Like we're almost to the point where some people are like, we don't need any help. I'm fine. But we have people where we want to make sure that they're taken care of, and like we can like, hey, do you need help with anything? Because I pride myself on customer service to make sure that agents have the best experience. I don't want you to feel like a number, no matter how big the company scales. And I preach that to the team, my customer service staff, every single day. You make sure that these people are taken care of at all times, because once again, I've been that person.
And remember, we were talking about that off camera. You being the MDRT agent, maybe he's not, but either way, same treatment, same everything. It's an even playing field.
Exactly. Because like I said, I've been the agent who bought the leads, and this is my last $800.
Yeah.
You don't know what somebody who's paying for age leads or fresh leads or annuities, like you said, like you could be this guy or this guy, but like I don't know that, so I can't say, oh, well, you spend more, so I'm going to treat you any different. No, this could be this person's last $300, their last $800. Yeah. These people are really depending on us to deliver a service. Now we can't go out and sell it for you. I can give you all the resources in the world, but what I can do is be honest, be transparent, and give you an exact blueprint, which I guess would be the last thing that we offer. We have it's called a 40K blueprint, which we've about to be 4 years, helped 550 agents, just like everybody listening or watching.
550 agents so far, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, hit $40,000 a month in paid commissions, and
wow.
You know a few of them, right? So it's like, but we have hundreds of them, and what I've done is I've compiled all the methods, the behaviors, the tactics that they do. Not like what they say, but actually what they do. So you as an agent can go out and implement that.
Yep.
So you can have success with us. Now I can't speak to any other lead company what they're doing, but I know with those 550, I break down, talk to them, I figure out what they're doing, and then I give you those resources.
Yeah, see, that's the difference. You're not just selling a lead. You're not just saying this is what's for sale, this is your discounted rate. You're going to ensure that they will be successful if they do it your way. It's almost guaranteed, literally, almost.
Right.
And then it becomes up to the person. Right. I mean, obviously they have to be good sales, follow through, persistent. So basically, if we draw this drawing board of the platform, so you can buy, if you're an agent out there, there's discounted leads available if you're a Levinson agent, number one. And then once they purchase the leads, then they can request a phone call or email. Correct. How does it work, like the training part?
Yeah, I'll walk you guys exactly through it. So the way we have the platform set up with you all is you all will put a lead request in. Then you'll be reached out to by somebody on our staff. Somebody will reach out to you and just confirm, hey, Bill, this is John from Lead Lab. Mm-hmm. Just confirming that you put a request in for 300 age leads, 25 annuity leads, whatever it is, right? Whatever you put on the form that you fill out, right? And then you'll text back and say yes. Mm-hmm. From there, we will, if it's a aged lead order for whatever reason, we'll send you over to invoice and it'll have all the details on it as well. If you have questions, you can literally call back that number, right? You can text back that number. It's a live person. It's not a bot. It's like a legit human being.
Where someone picks up the phone.
Correct. Yeah. And you're going to have that rep's number. So this is, once again, like, this is your rep. This is not like some bot. It's a legitimate, like, save their number, because when you want to order, you don't even have to go back to the site, because that rep's going to have your account. Right, we have specific accounts, like I've told him, already set up for you all when you all come into our ecosystem. 100% branded for you all. Also, is going to be taken care of and have a dedicated team and staff specifically for you. But let's say you buy fresh leads, right? You're going to hit that initial text message, and then we're going to do an introductory call to walk through it, because the fresh leads just require a little bit more of, like, you might have a CRM that you want us to integrate to, because they're in real time, right? So it's a little bit more subtle technical difficulties, procedures that we want to make sure we go through to ensure that you have success.
And it's a bigger investment on the agent's part.
Exactly. So we want to make sure that there's no questions, comments, concerns. If you really need anything of assistance, we want to be there for you. When do you want your stuff to launch? So, like, there's a lot of little small, minute details with the fresh leads. Yeah. Because once again, like, it's in real time. So some people might pay today, but they might say, hey, I'm going on vacation. I don't want them to start till Wednesday. Yeah. If you just pay and I don't talk to you and I just start on the same day, now we have miscommunication, and that I always tell my team, that's on you guys. You guys are supposed to reach out and confirm that. So we're going to make sure that, once again, if it's fresh, you're going to get a phone call after the initial text message. If it's age, you'll get sent over the invoice. Age leads are pretty simple. They have all the data points. Their
scripts are in the system.
Correct. Once they pay, they're then going to be introduced to their dedicated account rep who's going to be delivering the leads.
Got it.
Right? So let's say you buy age leads. Walk through it. Somebody buys some age leads. They pay. They're immediately going to be introduced to their dedicated rep who's going to be delivering the age leads. They're going to be sending them through, they can send them through whichever is the easiest for you. Text message, email, right? In whatever format you need. CSV, Google Sheets, whatever you need. And we can set that up for you to be delivered, right? And then that rep, if there's any technical difficulties, maybe we have the wrong email on file, you'll also have their number. So now you have 2 points of contact. You have your account rep and you have your delivery rep. Wow. Both of those people will be taken care of. If you pay for the fresh leads, the same exact process happens, except for when you pay for the fresh leads, now you have that same account rep and we're all in a thread. So it's going to be the account rep and they're going to be the delivery rep and yourself.
It's like a concierge service.
Yeah, white glove. That's the way we try to set it up.
Like it.
So you'll always have somebody that you can contact and be able to communicate with.
Yeah.
From there, the last step, and this will be kind of the last step in the process before we kind of get rolling in terms of like that agent who paid for fresh or aged, is you'll be added to a private community that I mentioned to you that will already be labeled specifically for you all, where you continue to ask questions. You'll have access to all of the trainings, the materials, the resources, the phone scripts will be in that community. It'll be a link that will be sent to you via email and via SMS. And then from there, I have about 15 other staff members who will also be in there for any questions, comments, concerns. Like the moment you drop something, they're going to get in contact with you.
This is what I was talking about, folks. This you don't see this in a lead program, a lead company, a lead platform. I've never seen this before. So I love what you're doing, and you've proven the concept. We have agents using the program for a few years now, so it works, right? I always say the proof is in the pudding, so that's the proof. So we get the basics, the logistics, and besides that, now let's move into the leads, like the various lead types, and just share with the audience. Like, so we have IUL, we have indexed annuity leads, which this is a first for us. We never had a text verified exclusive IUL or FIA leads ever. So that's pretty neat for us. But just explain the different types of leads, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, this is my favorite part. I love talking about leads and marketing because it ties back into, I told you all about my story. This is where it comes up. So the way I look at leads and marketing is probably very different than what you all have heard, but it works. And the people that you know that you talked to at the beginning, when they understood this, they were like, that's brilliant. So I look at leads like demographics. So pools of people. So we have individuals who are, 18 to, 40, right? Who are looking for a solution for their retirement, or a solution for, they're trying to build tax-free wealth. They're like interested in figuring out, like, how am I going to retire? What's my future going to look like, right? Then you have pools of people who are 45 and above who are just looking to cover their end-of-life expenses. Well, if I die tomorrow, what does my life look like? That's a demographic. And then you have people who are homeowners, who are 30 to typically 75, 80, and it ranges, that are looking to protect their home, their biggest asset. Hey, I got to make sure that my mortgage is taken care of, right? And then from there, you have individuals who are 59 and above who are looking into different, annuities and different products for themselves. So that's how I look at it. Now, those are lead types, but the reason why the behaviors are so important and the demographics are so important because it helps you as an agent on what to do to be successful. So I'm going to answer your question in kind of a roundabout way. So you have final expense, right? That's going to be 40 to basically 85-year-olds looking to cover their end-of-life expenses. But here's the thing that we do that's a little bit different. It's final expense life insurance. It's not final expense burial.
That's good.
There's a difference. Final expense burial pre-frames clients when they fill forms out and you hop on a call with them to only cover cremation and I don't know why I'm thinking that. Funeral. Thank you. But final expense life insurance pre-frames people to cover their funeral costs, their supplemental income, and then cover their equity, right, or additional medical expenses. Well, what does that mean? The reason I told you all this story is I pulled that from being an agent. When I was selling 10 to 15,000, I couldn't get over a hump. And then I was like, I'm selling all this final expense. And even when I do sell mortgage expense, like, what's going on? I went to my upline at the time and he was like, well, you're pitching wrong. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, every time you sit down, you just say 10, 15, 20,000. It's like, so what are they going to do? It's going to pick a number based off no value. It's like, what you need to do is explain what 10,000 does. What does 15,000 do? What does 20,000 do?
Yep.
So what I realized when I started marketing, I was like, oh, that makes sense. All these ads are about final expense burial. So they come through pre-framed and you write small policies.
Yep.
Right? So our agents write bigger policies off of final expense. Why? Because it's final expense life insurance. Yeah. So they see the ad and it says equity protection supplemental income. So when I call you and I say, hey, Bill, this is Trey, I'm giving you a call about the request you filled out on blah, 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 where you listed XYZ as a beneficiary, and you say, correct. And I say, perfect, Bill, I'm your licensed advisor. Here's my number, blah, 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 whatever you guys intro is. You hop right into the why. I say, Bill, so I know our ad had a few different things. Talked about funeral costs, talked about supplemental income. Why did you fill it out?
Yep.
And then they sit there and tell you, well, it says something about protecting my equity. Boom, you just now took a final expense lead into a mortgage protection lead for at least, $1,500 to $2,008.
Change the premium, change the commission, change the outcome. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just do that by helping you all on the front end with the actual advertising, right? So that's final expense. So I know when you hear that, do not think final expense burial. They are final expense life insurance leads. And once again, when you work with us, we're going to send you a screenshot of like your ad. So you're going to be able to see exactly what it says. Right. The second tier is going to be mortgage protection. Now, mortgage protection, as some people know it, is we're just selling term. I want everybody to understand that the demographic of people that are filling out these forms on these platforms ranges. You have 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. You also have 60 and 73-year-olds in California with $300,000 mortgages. All right. Are we selling them a term? Most likely, no. Right. We're putting in some form of like equity protection, whole life plan, payment protection. I don't know what phrase you all use. But that's it's the best position to put them in, right? So just prepare yourself for that when you're selling or working those type of leads. So that's going to be your mortgage protection niche, okay? Then from there you have annuity, which is flatline. The way we do a lot of our annuity marketing. I'm getting a lot of questions about the annuity. Yeah. So the way we do our annuity marketing is actually very interesting. So we position it as like strategy calls. Yep. So we almost position it as like you all are these authority figures that if you've been considering an annuity or if you've heard about an annuity, that's who we go after. We're not really trying to convince people on why you should get an annuity. I hope that makes sense. For everybody listening, I'm going to say it one more time. We're not telling people to get an annuity. We're looking for people who already want an annuity. So you're going to talk to people, and one of the questions on there is, how long have you been looking for an annuity? Right? One of the other questions is, hey, if we can help you put together a strategy that would protect you and help your money grow, is there any reason that you wouldn't move forward with getting an annuity set up? That's a question on the form that you guys are buying. Yeah, which tees up a perfect appointment for the agents. Thank you. Exactly. It pre-frames them because if they say, like, no, I just want to shop, it's like, okay. Like, no, it's not a valid lead. So, exactly. Right. So that's our goal is to create that. So I just want everybody to understand, because I know there will be a lot of questions, and once again, that's why we have the call, when we call, when somebody decides to purchase any fresh leads, we go through that process. And I noticed that's the most expensive lead type, right? Correct. Because they're harder to find. Exactly. And we want to kick all the tire kickers out who are selecting no, or no, I'm just kind of like, we want people that are like, yes. Why? Because they've been looking for it. So they're considering a second opinion. So you all can come in and do your job and really position yourself rather than spending 3 hours telling somebody about what an annuity is, or 3 meetings, or however you structure it. You can have 1 or 2 meetings and spend a lot of time actually like, hey, what do you know? What do you not know? And it's more of an advisory. It's educating. Exactly. Type of role. And then from there, you have Index Universal Life. So the way we position this is we are not running ads, just so everybody's clear. So I know there's a lot. I'm going to say this into the camera. There's a lot of stipulations on how to structure life insurance policies for this whole infinite banking thing. We don't even run ads like that. We don't run any ads. Banker. Because I know there's a lot of you should use whole life. Area. Some companies don't even want to get involved in it. Exactly. So I already know, once again, me being an agent, I was way ahead of the time. So we don't run any advertising that talks about becoming your own bank, infinite banking, none of that. We just talk about, hey, you could put this money into an IUL. Here's what you could potentially get as a return. If you're interested, click learn more. Yes, we are very clear. We tell them that it's life insurance. We position it as like retirement strategy. We don't use any claims that would get you all in trouble. Once again, I'm an agent, so I will always have your back. And I also am going to protect myself too. I'm not going to be running ads that are saying things that make it seem like it might be something it's not. This is my favorite lead, if I'm being honest, out of all of them. It's my favorite lead because it actually has the most questions, which ironically it's not the most expensive lead, but
it's literally half the price of the annuity lead.
It is.
I was telling someone yesterday about
and it's phenomenal because of the way that we ask the questions. We go name, email, phone number, which is verified.
Yep.
We're also going to ask them their main goal. We're also going to ask them how much they want to contribute. We also define and educate them on the differences in how much they put and what they can estimate. We all know if you spend $150 to $300, you're not building really a lot of cash value. Right? We all know that. They don't know that.
Yeah, right.
So if we don't educate them, what are they going to do? They're going to click 150 to 300. But they may have said, like, I want this for XYZ. And what we do is we're going to educate them on, hey, if you put in this much, here's what this is typically for. 150 to 300, you're just getting life insurance.
Yeah.
300, 500, and we kind of tell them what they may, have. We also ask them pre-existing like medical conditions. That kind of prepares you for, before a call, so you already know. It also frames the people who feel like, I don't want to, talk about medical. Guess what? They're not going to fill the form out.
Yeah.
Right? And we make these open-ended. So they're not multiple questions for you all. This is not a yes or no. They actually list out what it is that they have or what may have came up. And then the last one's my favorite is like, when do you want a licensed life insurance agent to reach out to you, which is also an open-ended answer.
That's great.
And it's not like morning, afternoon, evening, or weekdays and weekends. They're giving you exact times. Like it's like, April 27th between 6 and 8, I gotta drop my kids off. They're literally writing that in the form.
Yeah, is that what? So when you say text verified, that's what that means, more or less. Like someone is writing back, they're confirming.
So text verified is at the very end. It means that when you go to hit submit, you can't. It pops up. It makes you confirm. It'll send a code to your cell phone number. A 6-digit code that you have to type back into the form.
The consumer.
The consumer has to go back to the website, type the number back in. Then confirm, then hit consent, which is TCPA compliance, and then hit submit.
So it doesn't get any better. I mean, you have the best chance of selling a deal through these leads. It sounds like. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
We want to create as much friction as humanly possible. Because
the
more friction that we create, the more knockoff we have, which then means that we have a better lead. Because I'm going to get rid of the people that are like, this is too much. I don't want it. It's life insurance. I don't want it. Cool. Get out. This is too much. Cool. Get out. I don't want anybody to ask me health questions. Cool. Get out. I don't want a licensed agent to call me at any time. Cool. Get out. Right? But if we can get them through all 10 steps and then get to the end, and even if they are like, I just want to see if I can get a quote, now they got to confirm their number. They know somebody's calling them.
It's real.
Exactly. And you don't need a million of those to make your money.
Right. Especially if you know how to pivot. Like, so I had an agent in 2 days ago, and I said, did you just hear about the new lead program? He was at the expo. He said, yeah. He's like, but I don't know, $98 is a lot of money. There was a minimum. And I said, well, listen, David, I said, for less than half the price, try the IUL leads, and you can pivot at that point.
That's what I tell all of my...
Or FIA. It doesn't make a difference. Right. So, and then he got it, and he wanted to wait for our podcast so he can see all the details. But that's the way I would look at it. So is that your most popular lead type? Is the IUL?
Most popular type is IUL. It's because of that. And
Yeah.
You just explained what I try to explain to my clients all the time.
Yeah.
But that's why I started off by saying to everybody, think of leads like demographics. Do not think of leads like, it says IUL, so I have to sell them. That's the wrong way to think about it. What Bill just said is perfect. Literally, when you think about the IUL, you can pivot that person by just asking the right questions.
Exactly.
If he's 58 years old and he's telling you about what's going on, I don't care if he filled out the ad and you hear his pain point, educate him and say, hey man, this is actually a better option for you.
And they don't know what they want.
Exactly.
Right. You have to come in. Right.
So
it's education.
You see what I'm saying? You're paying to get in front of that demographic.
Got it.
So you want to talk to people that are 40 to 65 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Get an IUL lead, right? It's that's why I tell people all that. That's why, because we have some agents who they don't even sell IULs because their belief, whatever. They only sell whole life. But they still buy the IUL leads because they want to sell whole life. I have people that sell term. Literally people that are like, hey man, I'm a buy term investor. Cool. I'm not here to argue. Whatever works for you. Hey. Right. But they get on the call and they literally take the call and they're like, hey man, this is still a retirement strategy. Look at it like this. And they do it. Why? Because they're paying to get in front of that demographic.
That's it. That's what it's about.
Because there's not a buy term, invest the difference lead.
Right.
You know, like there's not really like a lot of like term, you know, so you got to figure out what demographic out of all those that I just listed do you want to work with. And once you figure that out, you apply, right? Remember, everything is positioned in our marketing as life insurance. We don't position it as family expense burial. We don't position it as mortgage protection term. It's just mortgage protection life insurance. So give them term if they're good for term, whole life they're good for whole life. If they want an IUL, give them an IUL.
Yep, exactly.
Right? Put them in the best position possible, and you're going to get the highest ROI.
And a lot of this is up to the individual agent. It's their education. It's their support on the back end. So this is great. So we're just about done. Just a couple of things I want to touch on quickly. So the aged leads. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? So I know obviously they're a lot less money. Yeah. Those are like a month old, would you say?
So the cool thing that everybody will appreciate, and I'll say this because I know I'm getting a lot of questions about aged leads, and I'm very transparent about how we do it. So this is how it works. So all of our aged leads are internal. We don't buy them from any other like third party company. Mm-hmm. We're not like, selling them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times after they sold them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Right. That's so they come from our internal database. Part of the reason we have you guys in the community is when you make a sale, first of all, like I told you, I'm an athlete, right? So I come from, that's why I created the community. I'm that type of person who's like, here, Bill, take your leads. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I want to see you win, right? You come work with us, like, we're going to see you win. So we celebrate everybody. You're going to have an area in there. It's like a little wins column where you're going to post when you make sales, and people just celebrate you, right? It'll still be private. Like, no, we're not going to share this to anybody just for like you all, right? But what happens is when you post that sale in that chat, and then you're also going to text your account rep the name of the client you sold, we actually take that lead out of our database. So what we do is every agent that has their leads has a 30-day time span to work their package or whatever of leads that they have. After that 30 days comes up, all the leads that have not been sold are the ones that become aged leads. And in 2 out of the 4 years we've been selling aged leads, we have never had a problem with a resale. Nobody calling and saying, hey, I'm getting blown up, because we have a very clean and transparent system on how we get those leads. So that's how the aged leads are actually generated, and that's what, when you buy aged leads, you would be buying.
I got it. So let's say Arnold is an agent today, right? Pennsylvania, you're an agent, knocking on doors, whatever it is. What leads would you start with, right? If you were purchasing leads from the lead lab, what would you start with, and what would you?
And I have no experience.
You're 6 months in, a year in, so you're a greener on the greener side, your side.
I'll be honest. My favorite lead type is probably mortgage protection.
Okay.
And I'll explain why. I think that demographic is the best demographic for me, how I would want to do it, to sell. Now, caveat, if I was brand new, I would probably sell and I don't know if I have these on the website, but this is just for me in general, like a veteran final expenses lead, which is like a whole other conversation. But to answer your question directly, I would sell mortgage protection because I love that demographic. Okay. Because you can sell everything. Yeah. If they come in and they're 78, like when I sold as life insurance agent, I loved the mortgage protection. People will be like, man, this guy's 75. What am I? I'm like, dude, those are the best policies.
Of course.
You can write this guy a $3,000 policy, make it make sense for him, cover his supplemental income, equity protection, and his final expenses in one policy for $200, $300, $400, $500 a month sometimes, because they have the money, right? And you're going to walk out of that house, you actually put them in a better position. It makes sense. They understand it, and they will not cancel, because every other agent is going to try and try to sell them some term or get upset or sell them some whatever type of policy that doesn't fit them.
To make commission
and it's so hard to sell that I enjoy the thrill of knowing, like, when you sit down with somebody and you're selling mortgage protection, you have to really position, like really understand their situation really, really well. Also, I'm not, like, me personally, I know IULs, but I'm not like a wizard, and I feel like that product is best suited for people that can really put people in the best position when they really, really want it.
Yeah, more of a seasoned agent.
Exactly. So if I'm 6 to the timeline you gave me, I'm probably not that seasoned but I'm definitely seasoned enough to sell mortgage protection and put them in equity.
Would you work the age leads?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah, so you would do both.
I would do both. I would be
Okay.
doing a fresh pack every week, and then
Yeah.
I'd have supplemental age leads.
Okay.
Because they're, you know,
Like once a month, every other week,
For the
with
age
leads.
leads?
Yeah,
Oh,
just to
every
keep
week.
the bucket full.
every week.
Every week.
Because I do realize that when you buy fresh leads, they don't come all at once.
Right.
They
right,
come in
right.
real time.
Got
So if you get 4 leads in a day,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if you just have the 4 leads, what else are you gonna do?
Right, I see.
You know, so
what you're
I'm gonna start my week off on Monday. I'm gonna buy 200 aged mortgage protection leads, and then I'm gonna buy a 30 pack.
What's the age lead cost again?
What's
What's our discount?
Yeah, so it's $250. I don't want to misspeak, but you'll see. I think it's like $250, 3, 4, and 5 or something like that.
Yeah,
But you'll see that.
$2.50.
Yeah.
So that gives you a good shot.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
buying 200 of those every Monday, and then I'll have my fresh leads coming through the week, and I'll just work my pack. And if I need to get more, I'd buy more aged leads. And as long as I can write 10K a week, that would be my blueprint every time.
Yeah, I love it. There you have it. I mean, let's put a bow on this. I mean, that was great. You did perfect. That was excellent. I think we all have a good handle on the platform. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Any last words, comments?
One thing I will say,
this was good.
One thing I will say that you all will have access to completely free working with us is a KPI call. So if you all hear anybody on my team say that, I'm going to go over that is really quickly. And
Yeah,
we can wrap up here.
okay. Yeah, we need to do a part 2. We have a URL on our website, so if you want to get started, let us know, or just fill out the request form. We'll get you up and running, and then obviously we'll make the introduction. So thank you again, everyone. This was awesome. Call in with any questions, and I just want to thank you again for showing up and doing a great job. Thank you. Thanks again to the audience. Great selling.
Thank you for joining us for the Bill Levinson Experience. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think would be interested. You may also visit levinsonandassociates.com and all of Bill Levinson's social media pages for more information.